Genetically Modified Organism Science, Health and Politics. Introduction. In 2001, Rosalie Elasus, a former overseas Filipino worker in Singapore, turned farmer attended in integrated pest management. Farmers Field School and was introduced to BT corn, a genetically modified corn that is resistant to the destructive Asian corn borer. Miss Elasus volunteered for demo testing in her field. BT corn yielded 7.2 tons per acre as compared to regular yield of 4.2 tons per hectare. No insecticide spraying modified organism. In science laboratories, the general process of genetic engineering is the deliberate manipulation of the organism. Gene where it may involve transfer of genes from other organisms. An antibiotic resistant E. coli bacteria was created in 1972. There are ongoing research on GMOs, such as using genetically modified male mosquito as pest control over female mosquito carrier. Solution for problem and opening door for innovation genetic engineering phases. Much opposition, opponent, whilst ethical, social, and environmental issue relate to genetic engineering and its GMOs. This lesson will present existing genetic engineering, especially GMO, in the different areas of life, the impact to humankind and controversies that surround them. Identify the issue on genetically modified organism. Issue of concern include the capability of the GMO to escape the potentially introduced the engineered genes into wild population, the resistance of gene after the GMO has been harvested, the susceptibility of non-target organism, insects which are not pests to the gene product, the stability of the gene. Discuss the different implication and impact of GMO. Genetic modified produce genetically modified animals, plants, and organisms. If they are introduced into the environment, they can affect biodiversity. For example, existing species can be overrun by more dominant new species. Next na.
Genetically modified organism. Genetically modified organism is a term used for our organism created through genetic engineering. GMOs focusing crops or animals wherein genetic materials has been artificially manipulated by way of genetic engineering. GMOs avert the effects of insects, disease, and drought, and included the food growth process by enhancing the levels of beneficial vitamins or nutrition in the food. Plants, bacteria, fungi, and animals whose genes have been altered by manipulation are called genetically modified organisms. GM plants have been used in many ways. Genetic modification has made crops more tolerant to abiotic called drought, heat, reduce reliance on chemical pesticides, pest resistant help to reduce post-harvest losses, increase efficiency of many Additional to this use, GM has been used to create tailor-made plans to supply alternative resources to industries in the form of starches, oils, and pharmaceuticals. Some of these applications of biotechnology in agriculture that we study in detail are the production of these resistant plants, which is called decrease in the amount of pesticide use. The toxins genes have been cloned from the bacteria and been expressed in plants to provide resistance in insects without the need or insecticide ineffectively a biopesticide. Example are BC cotton, BC corn, rice, tomato, potato, and soybean, etc. Are GMOs good or bad? GMOs are good because it holds a lot of potential when it comes to solving global issues. Some of those issues are pollution, food security, pharmaceutical, energy problems. Or for pollution, there are many GMOs that are being fertilizers can be clean or at least prevented from getting worse by the types of plants that are planted near the water source. So as food security, the population is growing and there isn't anything we can do short of murder or limiting birth, right? Right, to limit this, since we have more people, we need more food, but traditional crops are not always the answer due to either water shortage, land or shortage or low quality soil, disease, pests or crops do not meet people nutritional needs. Research can be a remedy is by creating a crop that are fitted to a certain environment, like making a crop need less water or perhaps taking a gene from a fungi that make antimicrobial compound that prevents disease causing bacteria and inserting into a crop. There is also talk and research into using plant vaccine and medicine. For example, there is a research into taking pollen gene and inserting into a plant to make it called in theory.
Ako na.
Number 1.
Yun.
Pests genetically modified plant to resist certain pests. Yun nga, an example of BT corn. Yung corn, inaano pa nila din, DNA test pa sila yun kasi kailangan nilang i-DNA test yung corn para malaman nila kapag meron ngang bacteria yun. Na rin yun na kailangan natin para mapanatili tayong masustansya pag kumakain tayo ng mais. Sample niya yun. And next is virus resistant, genetically modified plant to resist certain viruses. Yung papaya. Yung papaya, ini-injection nila yon kasi kailangan nilang makuha yung test ngayon kung meron bang germs or bacteria yung papaya. Kasi nga, di ba, halos lahat yung mga, katulad yung virus, di ba, di ba yung virus, ini-inject muna tayo bago nila malaman kapag kunyari positive pa tayo, ganun yun. Kailangan din nila alamin yung sa papaya na kapag merong bang virus, ganun, or para naman mapanatili pa rin pag kumakain tayo ng papaya, mapanatilihin natin yung kalusugan natin. And then yung 3 naman, hermetic side, tolerance, genetically modified plant to tolerance herbicide. Halimbawa, yung sa bigas, yung nagtatanim sila, yung punong tapos, palay, yung palay, diba, ini-sprayhan nila yon na may gamot. Ini-sprayhan nila kasi meron yung mga may plants na tumutubo na hindi naman dapat natin kinakain. Pinapatay nila yon para hindi mahalo sa kinakain natin in case na kapag nag-harvest sila ng bigas. Kaya halos lahat naman gumagamit naman ng halos lahat naman ng ibang bansa gumagamit yun, diba? Kaya yun lang.
Meron pa ata.
Sa akin yung number 4 to 6.
Ayan, sige na.
Fortification. Genetically modified plants fortified with certain minerals. Example, golden rice. Formation is also known as important matter because there is have a certain minerals. Example, golden rice. Lahat ng mga alam natin na mga halaman ay pwedeng kainin ang bunga. 5. Cosmic preservation. Genetically modified plant resist natural decoration. An example, Arctic apple. Cosmic preservation is pagpahalaga ng natural cosmic para hindi mag-iba ang kulay. Number 6, increase growth rate. Genetically modified organism that has higher yield and growth that's normal species. Increased growth rate is the rating of the higher yield o mataas na ani kaysa sa mga normal na species. Tapos na.
Next na daw. Yan si ano yun, Jericho Langit ata yan. Wala siya. Non-food.
May nag-PM doon sa GC.
Basahin niyo.
Wala.
Hindi ko makita yung sa GC. Naka-record screen ako.
Si Catherine May.
Kaya papasukin nyo. Di ko naka-record screen.
Kay Catherine May na lang yun. Yung wala sa...
Benefit of GMOs na o yung isa. Ito ba?
Ate ko na lang yun. Yan.
Ito?
O, buddy. Kay ko na lang, kay Ate Catherine.
Sige. Ito naman itong mga nagsito.
Pagaba konti. Okay.
Uy. Dafa.
Okay, unity.
Okay. Start na po ba?
Okay, start na.
Sige.
GMOs in non-food crops and microorganisms. GMOs in non-food crops and some microorganisms involve the following. First is flour production. GMO and flour production are seen modified color, extended base life of flour. Example are blue roses. The so-called blue roses, which are in reality lilac or purple, contains cyanidin 3,5-diglucoside together with large amount of flavonols. The introduction of the flavonols 3-51 hydroxylase gene into pelargonide or cyanidein, producing arose cultivars diverse and authoritanin biosynthetic pathway towards the production of delphinidin, leucosides, and the flower color to bloom. Second, paper production. Modified characteristics of trees for higher yield of paper production. Third, pharmaceutical production. Modified plants to produce pharmaceutical products. Fourth, bioremediation. Use of modified plants that can assist in the bioremediation of polluted sites. Fifth, enzymes and drug production. Use of modified microorganisms that can produce enzymes for food processing and medicines. Six, GMO in medical field. Genetic engineering is playing a significant role for diagnosis to treatment of human deadly diseases. It helps in production of drugs, gene therapy, and laboratory researches.
Next. Kanino to?
Ano, screenshot nyo nga kung sino yung mga nag-join para alam natin yung mga hindi nag-report.
Nani na? Okay.
Sige, start na.
Benefits of GMOs. High efficiency in farming with the use of pesticide resistance, herbicide, pesticide, and lower cost labor and cultivation. Ang pagkakaintindi ko dyan sa higher efficiency farming ay through GMO are expensive will be lessen, especially sa pagpili scalar product na nagkukos na to buy such kasi ang GMO contains its own also a defense mechanism dun sa mga salot sa crops natin, and by that you instead na pambili mo ng pesticides or herbicide ay iniipon mo na para pan-invest or para sa another crop. Number 2, increase in harvest. GMO crops resistance to pests and disease means increased potential growth and harvest. Since GMO from the world itself, genetically modified organism, asahan natin na ang crops natin ay will improve at magra-rise ng good production of crop because na rin po sa manipulation and experimentation na ginagawa nila to ensure na ang crops natin ay less damage at may high quality ang ating maha-harvest. Number 3, control infertility. Controlling the purify of the hybrid seeds, GMO seeds, ensures higher yields. Number 4, increase in food processing. Altered characteristic of GMO crop helps is food processing. Isa sa mga benefits nito ay ang pagbilis ng food production, which is really helpful in the public market or to our farmer to reach the higher demand in market. With this, hindi sila magagahol sa time ng pang-angkat and pagdi-deliver ng mga supply sa market. But it will be give you more harvest na rin. Number 5, improvement of desirable characteristic. GMOs offer long shelf life enhance color and taste, enhance production to reduction of enzymes and other modified characteristic of plants, animals, and microorganisms. Isa rin sa benefits ng GMO is within the appearance of the crops, not only by that pero all of connected aspects nito which do their certain task in maintaining the high and good quality of the crops. Next na.
Potential risks of GMOs. Potential risks of GMOs or genetically modified organisms. Despite the conceivable claims of GMOs, opponents of GMOs have claimed otherwise. For example, there are studies showing a link in the adaptation of pesticide-resistant GMO crops to the significant growth of superweeds that have also become pesticides. This has caused additional problems on more than 12 million acres of farms in the United States. Opponents of GMOs have the following main concerns. Number 1. Because genetic engineering is a young branch of science, there is insufficient study of the effect of GMOs on humans and the environment. Number 2. Genetic engineering promotes organism mutation whose long-term effects are still unknown. Number 3. Human consumption of GMOs can have the following effects. Gene mutation. GMO food can have abnormalities and mutation more than the desired product of gene mutation. Antibiotic inhibition. GMO foods contain antibiotic-resistant genes. This can cause disease-causing bacteria that want to become more resistant to antibiotics, which increase the possibility of widespread of the disease. Nutritional value. GMO foods may have change in their nutritional value. Next na.
Sa akin yan, buddy. Doon pa sa baba, buddy. Sa baba.
Sa akin yan.
Ay, kanina ba yan?
Yung sa una muna, una. Yan.
Saglit,
Mali
saglit.
pala.
Ito ba?
Oo.
Ito.
Oo.
Sige na. Yung title,
Okay na.
Mati, pakita mo yung title.
Ha?
Yung title,
May
pakita
title
mo.
hindi ko makita.
Ayan. Tama na yan. Sige na.
Potential environmental risk caused by GMOs. Kirky, 2006 summarized the perceived potential environmental risk caused by GMOs. The identified major risks are the following. Risk in gene flow. There is a potential risk of the modified gene to be transferred from the GMO crop to its wild relative or organism in the soil and human intestine when ingested. Gene flow is a popular and individual genetic material which transfer from one population to another. This involves different types of events such as pollen being driven to an entirely new destination or people migrating to the new place. If the versions of the gene flow are carried to a population where the gene versions do not exist, it can be a major source of genetic variation. For example, a decaying GMO plant could possibly transfer the modified genes to the bacteria and fungi in the soil. Bacteria and fungi are capable of using genetic material from their surroundings. There are no studies yet on the effects of the absorbed modified gene to the other organisms. Number 2. Emergence of new forms of resistance and secondary pest and weed problems. GMO crop resistant to certain pesticides may trigger a new form of pest resistance, while GMO herbicide tolerant crops may lead
to the overuse of the herbicide, which may trigger a new form of weed resistance. Pests can refer to weeds, insects, or diseases, basically pests to encompass anything that threatens the healthy growth of a crop or has the potential to reduce the yield or quality of the crop. Herbicides represent one of the external factors and form a group of synthetic plus some biochemicals used to suppress or kill unwanted vegetation and are major component of pesticides. No. The combination of virus and bacteria to produce new pathogens and modified gene can transfer integrated viral of bacterial genes, which lead to viral of bacterial gene modification of mutation. This leaving emergence of new forms of resistance and secondary combination of virus and bacteria to produce new pathogens. The modified gene can be transferred and integrated in viral bacterial genes, which may lead to viral or bacterial gene modification or mutation. This living modified virus and bacteria may then cause new disease that may affect other organisms, including. So how does virus reproduce in bacteria? The virus attaches to the host cell and injects its DNA. Use the host cellular metabolism, the viral DNA begins to replicate and form proteins, then fully formed viruses assemble. These viruses break or lie the cell and spread to other cells to continue the cycle. Viral recombination occurs when viruses of two different parent strains infect the same host cell and interact during replication to generate virus progeny that have some genes from both parents. Either mechanism can produce new virus serotypes or viruses with altered virulence.
Good morning everyone. My name is Genetically and my topic is potential human health risk caused by GMO. A major concern in the use and consumption of GMO is the effect of human beings primarily on human health. Some potential human health risks are identified after 2001 shocked us. Consumption of GMO may have adverse effects since it's not naturally or organically produced. Consumption of GMO may alter the balance of existence, microorganism, and the human disease system. Production of toxin may be detrimental to human health and produce of allergens and have adverse effect of human worldwide. There are many groups and a campaign against of GMO food consumption. They encourage people to boycott GMO product and to be vigilant and checking if the food they buy has GMO ingredients. The Philippines, the Supreme Court has ruled against the use of BT eggplant, another genetically modified crop, on TICO 2016. Other potential risks. The risks of major concern are Human Genome Project or HGP, mapping of human genes to provide framework for research and studies in the field of medicine. It was feared that the ability to produce human genetic information would create disease and give for much power to people holding the information and to the disadvantage of those who do not have the genetic information. Mutation or genetically engineered microorganism, genetically and modified bacteria and viruses may mutate to become more resistant or violent. That might cause more dreadful disease for human beings. Thank you.
Choo choo.
Sa baba body akin yan. Sa baba pa. Ayun yung cloning dyan na body dyan.
Yan.
Mga body yan.
Ito ba?
Mga body. Hindi, yan.
Ito.
Yan, sa cloning.
Uy, ano tandaan nyo yung mga di nag-report
Yung kanina nga.
Yan body yan.
Tandaan nyo yung mga di nag-report.
Cloning, the sexual...
Ito ba?
Game na ba, buddy? Cloning, the sexual reproduction of an organism using parent cell through genetic engineering. In February 24, 1997, the first mammal dolly, a sheep from Scotland, was born through cloning. It emerged the ethical issue of man playing God. Scientists and medical practitioners will defiantly continue to search for ways to preserve lives. Engineering is perceived to be one of the keys to this venture. Gene therapy and gene alternation are promising ways to improve human health conditions. On the other hand, great fears loom in the process of this case. There are many things to be considered before a certain medical process using genetic engineering be accepted. These concerns were affirmed by the reports of the World Health Organization, WHO, reported 3 major issues on GMOs that are in international public debates. These are the potential risks of allergic reaction, gene transfer, flow and outcrossing, WHO 2014. The primary issue on GMOs presented in public debates is its unnatural production, or what is termed to be a violation of nature. The creation of new organisms like GMOs pose moral issue and defines to natural laws. Another concern is the potential risk to the environment and human health, to which so much is unknown yet. Okay na, buddy?
Next. Oh, kini. Baliktad eh.
Baliktad.
Anyari.
Baliktad.
Sige na, basta ano yan. Biosafety on GMOs.
Yung bio, ano ba to? Biosafety eh. Biosafety.
Biosafety on GMOs.
Okay na yan.
Sige na.
Okay na. Ilabas yun na. Sige na. Meron yan. Kanina yan.
Kay Rodas ata.
Kanino to?
Tignan mo nga doon sa pinakababa.
Kay Rodas.
Wala, next mo na kung wala. Ayan na. Biosafety kay Rodas. Wala siya.
Safety by...
Ayun na, yung last na. Yung GMO in Philippine context na.
Oh, sige.
Pang-last ka, di ba? Wow.
Wala yan, no? Ito.
Ano yan? 5 page yan, 5.
Marami.
Game na.
Game
Yun
na.
na. Gladys May Ocado Pareno. GMO in the Philippines context. Introduction of GMOs in our country created issues and controversies similar to other countries with GMOs. There are of course proponents and opponents of these issues. Sinasabi dito na ang GMO sa ating bansa ay lumilikha ng mga issue at kontrobersya katulad sa ibang bansa na may mga GMO. May mga kurso taguyod at kalaban ng isyung ito. The GMOs concerns started in the 1990s with the creation of the National Committee on Biosafety of the Philippines or NCBP through Executive Order number 430 of 1990. The NCBP developed the guidelines on the planned release of genetically manipulated organisms or GMOs and potentially harmful executive species in 1998. Ang Pilipinas ang kauna-unahan sa Asia na inaprubahan ang commercial na paglilinlang ay isang GM crop para sa feed o pagkain ng mga hayop at pagkain noong 2002. Nang payagan ang pagtatanim ng GM ng mais, pinayagan din ito ng import ng ani ng GM sa higit sa isang dekada. Sa paligid ng 70% ng output ng mais nito ay GM. Next na. From December 2002 to prevent, there are 70 GMO applications approved by the Department of Agriculture for release to the environment. 62 GMOs of which are approved for food feed and processing, and the remaining 8 were approved for propagation. In 2004, the Philippines was classified by International Service for Acquisition of Agribiotech application as one of the 14 biotech mega countries which grow 50,000 hectares or more of GMO crops annually. In the same year, Senator Juan Flavier authored a bill on the mandatory labeling of food and food products with GMOs. The Senate did not pass the bill. Sa Pilipinas, may 400,000 farmers na nagpa-planting ng BT corn. According to Paraloman said, biotechnology has been helping farmers in the Philippines, and there are other BT products in the pipeline, like cotton, eggplant, golden rice, which were really supporting. In 2006, the Philippines became part of the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. In the same year, Executive Order number 514 was issued to address biosafety requirements of the Cartagena Protocol and establishment of the National Biosafety Framework or NBF. Next. In 2010, the Organic Agriculture Act was issued encouraging organic agriculture, that's a GMO-related agriculture. Prior to this act, there are several provinces like Negros Occidental and Negros Oriental which agreed to support organic agriculture. There was the establishment of the Negros Organic Island through a Memorandum of Agreement or MOA between the two provinces in 2005. With this MOA, the two provinces were able to ban an entry of GMOs and leaving GMOs to their provinces through provincial ordinance. Similar to this case, Davao City passed the Organic Agriculture Ordinance in 2010. This city ordinance helped the prevention of field testing of GM BT eggplant in the UP Mindanao campus. Jericho.
Sige.
Thank you.
Intindi. Nawawala ako, sorry. In, in 2012, wala. Game na. In 2012, Representative Eddie Casino, together with other congressmen, filed a bill pushing for the mandatory labeling of GM food and food products. To date, there is no Philippine biosafety law, only biosafety regulation formed under NBF. A study on the biosafety regulation of the Philippines conduct that the existing regulation is weak, which can be fixed through legislation such as Republic Act, Richmond 2006. In December 2015, in the Supreme Court ordered to put an end to the field testing GMO BT eggplant. And the third administrative order number 8 series of 2002 of the Department of Agriculture as null and void. This means that any action of procedures related to GMO importation and propagation and temporarily put to until a new administrative order is issued in accordance with the law. In March 7, 2016, 5 government agencies, namely the Department of Science and Technology, Department of Agriculture, Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Department of Health, and Department of the Interior and the local government, passed a joint department circular number 1 series of 2016 on rules and regulation for the research and development, handling and use transboundary movement, release in the environment and management of the genetically modified plant and plant products derived from the use of modern biotechnology. This joint department is circular paves way to issuance of new permits for planning and importing GM crops in the country. Okay na.
Hindi, ako na lang.
Ikaw na lang.
Ayun na lang.
Ano mo dun? Summary. Genetic engineering is an emerging field of science. Its quests are to preserve and prolong life in more than 4 decades since the first genetically modified bacteria was produced. Thousands of genetically modified organisms have been created and propagated. Some are approved by experts and government authorities for human use and consumption, while others are kept in institutional research laboratories subject for more experiments. There are advantages and disadvantages in using genetic engineering in both fields of medicine and food and agriculture. There are controversies that are still debatable up to the present. The major concern of the opponents is the long-term effects of GMO to humans, while the proponents' flagship is the success stories of the GMO recipients. There is still a long way to go for GMOs to prove itself as humans see answers to life predicaments or as human play like God.